I am a big fan of books that have weird liminal stories. And so the book we're going to talk about today is called The City in Its Uncertain Walls by Haruki Murakami. The story starts out with two teenagers in love. There's a boy and a girl, and their names are not important, or they didn't even have names in this time in existence, in this place, in this world. They had met at a high school contest. It was for an essay. They would meet up maybe like once or twice a month and see each other, and they fell in love. And at one point in time, the girl is telling the boy the story, and she's like, there's this town with these really high walls, and in this town is my real self, where my real self lives. I'm just like a shadow self of this person in this town. And she's like, if you ever go there, I won't remember you, but there'll be a place for you there, and you'll be a dream reader. This is kind of strange. They kind of like talk about this town all the time, and it almost seems like they, by talking about it, create it and bring it into existence. And so at some point, this girl just like disappears from his life without a word. He gets like one final letter from her because they used to write each other letters too, which I love the sentiment of that, of them like sending letters back and forth. So she disappears, and eventually one day he does find this town. But what it seems like in this town, because he goes and he becomes the dream reader, and they have to do this weird thing to his eyes where they alter his eyes. And so, like, light, he's super sensitive to light, and it kind of hurts his eyes. And he goes to this library where there's dreams, and apparently the dreams are shaped like eggs, and he reads them. And he's not very good at it, but the girl is there. She doesn't remember him. He is older too. She's still 16 in this other world, and he's like grown and older. So I don't know if like that means he was in his 40s or if he was in his mid 20s. I'm not sure. He was just considerably older than her, and she didn't really remember him. And it seems like the people of this town, no one really interacts with each other. People don't really question things, and they just kind of like go about their mundane lives. And it seems like once upon a time, the town might have been more, but something happened there where everything's like run down and decrepit, and there's no electricity, there's no gas. They do have plumbing, but it just seems like a really kind of sad place. This seems more like the shadow people than the real people. So it's kind of a thing of like what's real and what's not. And also to enter the town, the guy, he had to have his shadow removed from him. So his shadow gets removed to him from him, and then like the gatekeeper puts his shadow to work like digging holes and stuff. So you have that. And it comes to the point of where the main character needs to decide, okay, what world do I want to live in? Do I want to live in this world with her where she doesn't remember me, where it doesn't really seem like she has like an interest in him, and it's nice to be around her and have these memories of another time and place, but she doesn't remember it, and it's not really the same. And so occasionally he'll go and he'll visit his shadow. And at some point, his shadow is like, we need to get out of here. I'm going to die if I don't. And he's like, you need to make a decision on whether or not we're going to try to escape. And so he gets to this point where it's like, okay, is he going to stay in this world, or is he going to try to like actually live his life and do something else with it? There's all these different moving parts to the book too, because okay, so after this weird walled town, there's more story. So if you don't want any more like major spoilers, I would say maybe don't watch past this point. Okay, so him and his shadow, there's this one area, there used to be two gates in the town, and one of them's been boarded up, and there's this like weird pool at the other end where the other gate used to be, and people are like, oh, it sucks you down, and there's these caves under there, and then you die if you go down there, and there's these weird eyeless fish and all these horrible stories and things. And Shadow's like, this is just to strike fear in people. We need to jump in that pool and swim under, and then we'll get out of this place. And so he ends up deciding, okay, we'll go. But when he gets there, he decides he's going to stay in the town. And he tells the Shadow, you go, you escape and get out of this place because this place is obviously killing you. So the Shadow goes, escapes, and he goes to go back home, falls asleep, but then he wakes up and he's back in the other world, like before the walled town. He doesn't really understand because he was like, I chose to stay in that town. Was it all a dream? What the heck happened, Then he's like, okay, what am I going to do with the rest of my life now, right? So he ends up getting a job out towards the mountains in the Fukushima province It might not be a province. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but somewhere in Fukushima, he gets a job at this little small library. And the old head librarian is a very eccentric character that he learns a lot of interesting things about. They have end up having kind of a close relationship. And then also there's this boy who goes to the library all the time, and he has communication problems where he doesn't really open up or talk to people, and the only time he does is he'll come and he'll, if he feels right about the person, he'll be like, "Hello, what is your date of your birth?" And so people will tell him, and he'll be like, "You were born on a Wednesday." And then that'll be it. And then he'll go away and he'll go back to reading books. And he always wears this like yellow submarine shirt, or maybe it was a sweatshirt or coat or something. The guy, the main character, takes to calling him the Yellow Submarine Boy. And eventually he overhears him talking about the town. And then this boy is like, I need to get to this town. He eventually talks to him through like writing on paper and a few words here and there. Is like, I want to go to this town. I need to be the dream reader. And so this story is wild. It's very chill. It meanders on like this twisty river. It's strange, it's beautiful, it's eloquent. This story was also a rewrite of a story that he wrote in 1980. That was a shorter story that I think it was only like 150 pages, and now it's like 400 plus, I want to say. I really enjoyed this. This is my first book by this author. I would definitely read more. And it's so weird. And I love like those weird liminal stories. You know, there's ghosts, there's in betwixt and in between strange worlds, this weird town. Oh, and I forgot to say, yeah, there were unicorns that lived in that town too. They're always dying though, because it would snow and they would fight each other. And yeah, I don't know why I left out saying about the unicorns, but they were there. If you like strange, whimsical, weird books, I guess I would call this like a weird fantasy. It's just paints a beautiful story. It's a slow burn. It's nothing fast paced about it, but I found it very enjoyable. Just like you slip into it and it's a lovely reading experience. Like you just really enjoy the words on the pages and you're like, where is this going to go? What is going on? And there's a bit of mystery to it. So could you kind of call it like a fantasy mystery too? Like, what is this town actually? What is up with this, the head librarian guy? Yeah, there's just so many weird moving parts to it. I really enjoyed it. If you were a fan of like strange liminal stories, you might enjoy it too. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.